So hello, Debbie Lewis, and welcome onto our little Zoom today. We are going to be talking about your article that's in the launch edition of, the launch edition of Salonpreneur magazine. And your article, under your heading Beauty and the Beast, is all about networking. And yeah, from awkward to awesome networking tips I wish I knew when I ran a salon. And you and I both know the value of networking. We do. I think you probably do a lot more networking than I do. I only go to my little local networking group now, which has not been going very long. It's only been going about 8 months. So it's still very small. And it's a really odd space, actually. It's a really lovely space. And those of us that go feel quite happy being there. Yeah. But it's already, there's been a few guys that have come, but it's already turned into a female networking group, which wasn't the intention that the person that organised it started with, but it's kind of how it's evolving. So yes, so just have a talk to us about the kind of networking you started out with when you did have your salon.
If I think back to when I ran my salon, I was a horrible networker. I think my expectations were that I would go to these busier the better networking events and I'd pitch and sell my salon and all the services we offered, and then I'd go back to the salon and I'd sit by the phone and wait for those people to book in. I just totally didn't get networking. And fast forward now 28 years,
a few years later,
I am now a professional networker. I get paid to go networking and do that connection piece, and I wish I knew then what I know now.
Because I think it's really hard, isn't it? I mean, the one I go to now, it's very informal. It's at a local community pub, and it's just really informal. We do it 10 o'clock, like on the third Friday of every month. And as I say, it's become kind of mainly women, but we don't, and I think it's become more like a support group more than anything else. But we do kind of, every time we go, we do talk about what we do, but we don't have that fear driving 60-second pitch, which I think can be quite terrifying.
I love a 60-second pitch.
I don't mind it. I think it depends, doesn't it, on the group that you're in. And I know there's another one that's more like an FSB, what are they called? FSB. I can't remember what it's called.
Federation of Small Business, or are you thinking of the one where you have to make referrals, BNI?
And it was FSB. So there's one local to us that the FSB support. And I went to that last July, but I wasn't really in a very good headspace. And I walked into it, was like 60 people in the room. And I didn't really know what I was there for. I just sort of went along just to kind of see. And I actually couldn't stand up and speak. And I think it was a lot with my headspace as it was at the time. But it is quite daunting, isn't it? And if you've got to have your 60-second pitch.
I think you've got to find the format that's right for you. Because like you've said, if you are terrified of A, public speaking, B, having to memorize a set script, or C, feel uncomfortable in maybe that group. Maybe you love networking and you love 60-second pitch, but that group, for whatever reason, makes you feel uncomfortable. You've got to find something that works for you. The reason I love a 60-second pitch is because in my network currently, I have around 7,500 small business owners. So for me, when somebody gives me really succinctly what they do, it's easier for me. It's purely selfish. So when someone stands up and they've nailed a 60-second pitch, I'm like, boom, I know what you do. I know who you're relevant for. I know who to connect you with. Whereas when and we've all been there, you go to maybe a birthday or a wedding or an event and you say, so what is it you do? And then 30 minutes later, you are bored to death, have no exit route, and still don't really know what they're doing. So I do think a 60-second pitch has its place. But if you hate it, find a group that doesn't do them.
This is it. But I think it's a good practice, though, isn't it? Just so that you can kind of hone down what it is that you do. And I think even if you don't like going to those groups, I think having a 60-second pitch is a really, really good idea, isn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, there are competitions that give away money. At the moment, there is one about to open where you could win £70,000 for your 60-second pitch. That, for me, would be a really good reason to become comfortable with it. But the saying is, long is lazy, fast is hard. So 60-second pitch takes everything you want to tell somebody and it wraps it up in a really neat parcel that takes people on a journey to clarity, really to rule you in or rule you out of their network.
And I think that's the thing, isn't it? I think like we see networking in a lot of different ways, don't we? And you see it as like potentially a referral, you see it as like a support place, you see it as somewhere that you can go and connect and find people that you want to work with on a different level. You know, like you could go and find a new business coach, or you could go and find someone that's going to come and service your washing machine. It's so many different levels, isn't it? And so, so as a salon owner, do you think that, like you say, we used to go back and sit waiting for the phone to ring. And I think as a salon owner, because we're a service provider that's quite, I mean, there's many of us, but we're actually still quite a niche when you go to a networking event.
Yeah.
Because often, and particularly if you go to like the BNI kind of events, they're quite male dominated. So who are you selling to? And if you're looking to sell, because I mean, in that circumstance, I know a friend of mine used to go to the BNIs as an electrician, and he was like, yeah, but so there you should go, because like all those men are going to buy vouchers.
and in my area, it's not predominantly men, but it is predominantly alpha, a more forward, more strategic and dominant business owners. So I totally get it. I think you need to start with, what do you want to get out of networking? Because if you're a solopreneur, a salonpreneur, on your own, and you are lonely and you're going just to get a bit of support, that's really different to if you're going to get more customers. So I do think, kind of pick where you're going and how frequently you're going based on what you want to get out of it. Because a lot of people don't go networking for sales. They just go because they feel really lonely, or they want to find other like-minded business owners, even if it's not in the same sector.
Yeah. And I think that's important, isn't it? I think that, you know, most of the networking groups all are organised by a person or a couple of people, aren't they? And it's well worth reaching out to them and just sort of connecting and just seeing what kind of thing, because you can immediately rule them out if they're there as, you know, I think some of the things that I've noticed over the years with some of the networking is that they can feel kind of quite corporate, and they can fit, and as an industry, we're not that corporate, are we? We're quite a informal business environment. I think because we don't come into this industry as business people, we come into it as practitioners and as therapists and so on. So we come into it with much softer skills that we need to kind of develop as we go through becoming a business owner and becoming, you know, especially if you like you did, you know, going on to own like multiple salons with lots of different venues and lots of different employees. As you start growing through that, but as you go through that, you need to become more confident, don't you?
Yeah.
And I think this is part of our downfall in the industry.
I have to be honest, I really do wish I could brainwash all salon owners into taking the business side of it more seriously earlier, because you quite rightly said, you know, as the salon grew, as we kind of got more and more structured, people would assume that I started to become more business oriented, that I would do things properly, and I didn't, and it caused me absolute chaos. And the things I learned after I sold my salon, and I wish I had learned that while I was in business. But I don't think it's ever too early to start thinking about systems, processes, people, budgets, targets.
It's just so difficult, isn't it? I think when you're in it, I mean my salon, I tried to expand my salon, and I was moving from I think my salon was around 60 square meters, something like that. My original salon was really small. We had a couple of treatment rooms and, like, you know, nail area. And then I tried to move into something that was about 3 or 4 times the size, had something like 6, 7 treatment rooms. And for lots of different reasons, it didn't pan out. But I'm quite fortunate. I've had a background outside of the industry before I came in. Like I worked in private sector, I've worked in public sector as an administrator and a chief exec assistant, all that kind of stuff. I had a lot of transitional skill, a lot of transferable skills. So I'm really fortunate. So I used all that experience to help me do that. But when you come in and you haven't got that, and you've gone through college, you've been to your local FE college, you've got your level 2, level 3, you've worked as a therapist, and Carl Hinder quite rightly says you end up being a business owner who's a therapist with a set of keys.
Yeah,
and
that was me.
So well. And then you've got to learn, because all we get is, like, you know, a couple, like you might get one session of commercial, like in commercial session time, where you get to be the salon manager. It's just like the irony of like, you know, what you think that is at that point, and actually the reality is so different, isn't it? And I think I just wish I had, I mean, even with all the knowledge I had, I wish I'd known more, because that leap of expansion and scaling and growing the business is so difficult.
Yeah, and just even the language.
Yeah.
They use such different language.
Yeah.
And I giggle because when I used to sit with my bank manager, and we were knocking on about 800, 900,000 pounds a year turnover at that point. And whenever I met with my bank, so at that point I got a human, and he used to come to the salon and sit down and have these reviews. I never understood a single question he asked me. And now obviously that's my world, and I work with a lot of bank managers. And when they ask questions, I say, do you know, now I know what you're talking about. But back then I used to really confidently answer as if I knew what you were saying. But I had absolutely no idea if I was in the right ballpark. I did not know the difference between net and gross. I didn't know about what I could claim and what I couldn't. I didn't understand anything about financial literacy. So I find it really hilarious that that's now my world.
But I think that's one of the really good things with networking, though, isn't it? Is I know when I went to the FSB supported one locally, you know, there was multiple accountancy firms, and one of them had brought half their team with them.
Yes.
So you can just sit and have those conversations, and you can maybe put yourself in a bit of a vulnerable space and just say, look, you know what, hands up, I really could do with like having a conversation with you. And can you explain the difference to me between net profit and gross profit?
Absolutely. It's literally, it's a free consultation for the time that you have got them there. And most people are happy to help.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and it, to a degree, it's a way of getting a lot of sort of free coaching, isn't it? And expert advice, because if you have a conversation and just ask a question, you know, the same as if we were there and someone asked us, you know, what would you recommend for my skin? We're going to probably tell them.
Yeah.
They haven't got to come to the salon and book a treatment, but you know that those little bits of information that you give away to someone are going to sell your business to them anyway, because if you're helpful and polite and nice, and you know, and you're going to give them something that they can go away with and use, they're going to remember you.
However, if somebody does at a networking event ask you about their skin, you should absolutely try and get them converted.
Well, absolutely,
because they are reaching out.
Yeah, this is it, isn't it? I think, but you've got to kind of grab those opportunities, haven't you, at networking? And so what top tips would you give to someone to before they start, if they've never been? What are they going to do?
If you've never been, I would say start small, because some of these really big networking events can be a little bit overwhelming. So start small, check them out on social media, ask people for recommendations, just explain that you've never been to networking before and you want to kind of just get an idea of what it's like. So that's the first thing, start small.
Yeah.
The second thing would be really clear about what you want to get out of it, because not all networking events are made equal. And what I mean by that is some will be better for different drivers, different reasons for going. I love me a good fancy breakfast. However, if you are being really cost sensitive, there are networking events where it's just tea and cake, or no refreshments whatsoever. There are some where you've got to sign up for the year, and others where you can drop in. So if you're a solopreneur, working by yourself, no team, and you're operative, so you're income generating in your day to day, you maybe don't want to commit to a big year membership. You maybe just want to pay as you go. So determine you kind of all of the parameters of what would make this ideal for you. So start small, think about what you want to get out of it. And then the third thing is connect with the organizer in advance of the event. Just to introduce yourself, say why you're going, that you're new. If you're nervous about anything, you can ask them about the format. So will you be expected to introduce yourself? Because actually it's better, I think, to know ahead so you can prepare what you say. And it might be that you just want to say, my name is, and I own, name of the salon, we're based at, rough address, and that's enough for day one. So everything is totally flexible. Don't put too much pressure on it.
Yeah, because I think that's the thing as well, isn't it? I mean, the one I went to, and I was completely unprepared, I didn't really know what I was doing, so I couldn't stand up and go, my name's Sue and I'm going to be doing, you know, Salonpreneur magazine, and I also have the salon inspector. I didn't know all that stuff there. I was in the midst of like upheaval in my life, so I literally had nothing to say. But there were people that literally just stood up and said their name and their business name. Connect with me if you want to. And you don't have to have some great, amazing, this is what I do, this is how I can help you, this is the problem I can solve, and now these, this is how you connect and stuff. You don't have to go to those depths, do you?
No. I think the only time I would say you need to bulk it out slightly is if your business name isn't obvious for what you do. So if the a little bit like Apple as a phone, if somebody stood up and said, I'm the owner of Apple, you'd be like, what? Fruit? So make sure you're really telling people what you do. And what you're actually doing in that very short intro around the room is you're letting people know whether or not they should come over and speak to you. And you should be doing the same in your head when they're introducing themselves is, could I use this contact? Is this somebody who could be useful for me? Whether that's, maybe it's a florist. Well, maybe let's get together and talk about whether we do a Mother's Day collaboration. Or it might be, oh, they seem nice. They seem like my ideal client. I'd like to go and try and convert them.
In fact, as you're talking, I'm just remembering a guy I did meet at that FSB one who might be really useful to connect because I've got his card. But I said to him, I will be in touch at some point because I knew where I was going, even if I didn't say it out loud at that point. And I need him for our next feature.
And that's the fourth top tip is follow up. And follow up as soon as you can, because that person is going to be moving on. So if you can follow up in the day after, hi, it was great to meet you at yesterday's event. Even if you're not ready to meet up yet, I'd love to get a date in the diary for a Zoom or an in-person coffee for September, and then get it in the diary, because you will forget. We all get busy.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for coming on, Debbie. And it's been great having you and really lovely catching up just on how networking can help in your business.
Thanks, Sue. And keep going. What an incredible magazine you've created. Thank you so much.
Thank you. That's okay.